We're going to sketch angles and specify reference angles that are measured in radians. And we're going to do 6 problems. The first one is 7 pi over 6. The main thing you need to know about in radians, if you're still not used to them, is that pi over 6 is 30 degrees. That will help you out. That just means we have 7 of them. We have 7 30 degrees. Okay? So that would be 210 when you draw it. Also, reference angles in radians would be in quadrant 1, would be between 0 and pi over 2. Reference angles in quadrant 1, the reason for reference angles is because if you know the values in quadrant 1, and you know the reference and you know the angles there, then you can just change the signs when you go to quadrant 2, 3, and 4. But anyway, let's draw this. We have 7 of these 30s. So there's 3 of them there. 3 more 30s, because 3 30s make a 90, and we need 1 more 30. But we already knew that was 210, because 7 times 30 is 210. So there you go. Alright, so there's your angle. And for reference angles, after you've drawn it, this is your initial side right there. From here, you always draw to the x-axis. So we know that from here to there, this was 30, which in radians is pi over 6. Okay? So our reference angle for 7 pi over 6 would be, our reference angle would be pi over 6. Now to do it algebraically, since you're in quadrant 3, what you do is you take your angle and subtract pi, 180. So your angle is 7 pi over 6. And when you subtract pi, you have to have the same denominator. So that would be 6 pi over 6. Because 6 pi over 6 is pi, and that gives you pi over 6. It helps if you know both the formula and how to draw it. Okay, we'll go a little faster. We have 5 pi over 3. The thing you need to know about that is pi over 3 equals 60 degrees. That means we have 5 of them. We have 5 of these 60s. 5 times 60 is 300. And when you draw it, this would be 270. And we need 300, we need 30 more right there. So this is your initial side, and your terminal side would be right there. We know all the way around here is 270, we had 30 more. 30 degrees is pi over 6, but when we're in quadrant 4, what we're going to do from the terminal side is draw up to the x. If we know this is 30, then this has to be 60. And 60 degrees is pi over 3. So that's your reference angle. Algebraically, if you're in quadrant 4, which we are, you take 360 degrees, and in this case would be 2 pi, minus your angle. That's for quadrant 4. So that's going to be, for 2 pi, that's going to be 6 pi over 3, since we have the same common denominator here. We have to have it. This equals 2 pi there, and that gives you your reference angle of pi over 3. Okay, the next one is negative 7 pi over 4. The thing you need to know about this is pi over 4 equals 45 degrees. That means we have 7 of them, or we're going clockwise on this. And if you do 7 going clockwise, there's 2 in each one. So this would be 2 45s, another 2, that would be 6, and it would be right there. So that's going clockwise. That's your terminal side. This is your initial side. Now, since we're already in quadrant 1, all you have to do is draw down here, and we know that this is 45 degrees, or pi over 4. So your reference angle is pi over 4. All right, and what we could have done with this is, first of all, just made it coterminal. When you add 2 pi to that, which is 8 pi over 4, that gives you pi over 4. Pi over 4 is already in quadrant 1, so that would be your reference angle. And the next one is negative pi over 3. So just remember, pi over 3 equals 60 degrees. All right, so we're going to go down 60 degrees, or pi over 3, and we're in quadrant 4. All right, that's going that way. However, when you draw back up to the x-axis, let's see, that's the terminal side, that's going to be exactly pi over 3. So basically, the reference angle is pi over 3. All right. Next one is 5 pi over 4. Again, pi over 4 equals 45 degrees, and we just have 5 of them. So this would be 4 of them, and then 1 more. So that would be 5 pi over 4 right in there. To get your reference angle, you draw up to the x-axis, and that's going to be pi over 4, because this was 45 degrees. This is 45. This is 45. So this is pi over 4. That means your reference angle equals pi over 4. However, since we're in quadrant 3, the rule is you take your angle minus pi. So our angle is 5 pi over 4 minus pi, which for us to have the common denominator be 4 pi over 4, and that gives you your pi over 4. And one more, negative 5 pi over 6. So just remember, pi over 6 equals 30 degrees. So that just means we have 5 of them, and we're going to go clockwise when we draw it. 5 30s. So this is 3 of them. Need 5 more. So it's right about there. We're just sketching it. This is your initial side. This is your terminal side. And when you draw up, this would be pi over 3. Pi over 6, sorry. 30 degrees. All right? Now, using the formula for quadrant 3, the first thing you'd want to do is probably make this coterminal. So you're going to add 2 pi, and you negative 7 pi over 6 plus 12 pi over 6. That gives you 7 pi over 6. Once you have that, knowing that you're in quadrant 3, you take your 7 pi over 6 minus your angle. And our angle was minus pi, sorry. So you get 7 pi over 6 minus 6 pi over 6. That gives you your pi over 6. And that's all. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.